second just to make sure we've got a stream going on. All right, team, we've got our stream going on, so have a great meeting. I'm going to turn my camera off. However, I am here if you need me, okay?
Sounds
Have
good.
a great meeting.
Okay, so sorry, I wasn't quite prepared for this, but I'll give this a shot here. This is, I think, yeah. We'll start with a land acknowledgement that we acknowledge that the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe people, which includes the Odawa, Ojibwe, and Potawatomi nations, collectively known as the Three Fires Confederacy. We also acknowledge that the Wendat Nation, who occupied these lands prior to the middle of the 17th century, we are dedicated to honoring Indigenous history and culture and recognize the enduring presence of the Indigenous people on this land, and we are committed to moving forward in the spirit of reconciliation with respect with all First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people. Okay, so let's, I guess maybe do a group of introductions maybe to start with here. So I guess we'll just kind of pass it around, but I'm John Northcote. I'm the vice chair. Keenan usually does this and is very good at it. So I'm going to try to struggle through it here, but welcoming some new people here today is great. Excited to have the new people with us. So I'm born in Barrie. I'm a transportation engineer by trade, committee member, and generally a cycling and active transportation enthusiast. And I will pass it on to Anne-Marie.
Thanks for the tag, John. Good morning, everyone. Welcome, Laurel and Hannah. I'm the Ward 3 City Councillor, and my background is public health, and so I also sit on the Public Health Board. And I know we're missing Sherry, but I see her at the vaccine clinic sometimes, so I give her the updates. But happy to be part of the committee and championing some of the active transportation and how I can maybe do better around supporting resident engagement. In particular, my ward has seen 2 significant changes to bike lane additions. So one comes into effect next year, one was this past year. And so I'm very interested on how to look at activating individuals around adopting active transportation and getting comfortable with some of that new infrastructure. And I'll tag Andy in the forest.
Hi, I'm Andy with Living Greenberry. I'm not sure if you're familiar with our organization, but we're an environmental charity with a mission to guide citizens and businesses towards resilience and sustainability. And we've been doing it for about 30 years now, as of this year. We have a long history in the city of doing different projects. We built the first community garden. We began the city's Spring into Clean program, and began recycling plastics before the city even started taking them in the blue box. In the last few years, we're focusing our attention on climate change actions, and in particular, planting trees is one of our big, I planted all of these ones behind me, every single one. And we try and do this also by doing on free monthly public events, education events, and they were in person and now they're online. And on a variety of topics related to climate change action. So we've worked with a lot of the people in this community, or sorry, in this committee on some of these individual monthly actions. So right now, again, we're focused on tree planting. We have our 10,000 trees for Barrie campaign that we are very heavily focused on. Anyway, I will now pass it over to Kevin Bradley.
Oh, I'm here. Sorry. I'm hitting too many buttons. Good morning. Thank you, Andy. Kevin Bradley, I'm the manager of Parks Planning. I've been with the city for 21 years in a variety of different positions. I'm a landscape architect by trade. My role here is just to support the community more on the sustainability front, typically in partnership with Kevin Rankin, who's the manager of Parks and Forestry Operations, who just couldn't join us this morning. So nice to be here with you all. Oh, and I'll turn it over to Kelly. Sorry, I missed the handoff.
Thanks, Kevin. Hi, I'm Kelly Patterson-Mcgrath. I'm a citizen of Barrie, a very active transportation user, so very interested in building a larger network in our city, along with helping sustain and support the environment through sustainability and lots of tree planting. So big supporter of Living Green Barrie as well. Thank you. I'm going to pass it on to Laurel.
Hello, I've lived in Barrie for about 5 years, I think, and I grew up in the Walkerton area. I've lived, went to university in Waterloo, lived in Toronto, so I've lived in some larger cities. I'm an environmental engineer by trade, and I applied to the committee because I wanted to get more involved in the active transportation and sustainability initiatives in Barrie. What else was I going to say? I recognize some of you from other involvement, and I look forward to getting to work with you on this committee. And I will pass it over to Hannah.
Thank you. I'm Hannah. I have a degree in civil engineering and a keen interest in planning, specifically transportation planning. I subscribe to a bunch of planning YouTube channels, read transportation books, listen to podcasts, and I like to follow what other cities around the world are doing. I think improving active transportation is key to making our cities prosperous and healthy, both physically and financially. So I'm excited to be here and look forward to working with all of you. And I'll pass it on to Sandra.
Good morning. My name is Sandra Brunet. I'm the manager of business performance and environmental sustainability with the city. I've been with the city for 30 plus years. I'm a biologist by trade, but played many roles in those 30 years with the city. My current role has a mixed bag of business performance improvements or improvement responsibilities, risk management, environmental risk management, and environmental compliance, as well as environmental sustainability. I'm here today as a guest to wear my environmental sustainability hat, and I'll be speaking with regards to the city's circular economy program. I guess no one wants me on their relay team. I forgot. I'll pass it over to Wilf.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Wilf, and I am with the Electric Vehicle Society in Canada. So when active transportation isn't quite enough, that's I guess where I jump in and promote at least clean, sustainable transportation.
I think Maria, you're up.
I think I'm last. I'm Maria Kavanagh. Nice to see everybody. I've lived in Barrie for about 15 years, definitely an active transportation supporter. Would like my kids to carry on that tradition, so very interested in some of the infrastructure decisions that are being made from a safety perspective. Lifelong civil servant, currently working in transportation on the communication marketing engagement side, so I can definitely support any initiatives from that side of the house, and happy to be here. Thanks.
Great, thank you. There goes Brandy. We're all set then. Great. So then, yeah, we'll move right into the circular economy framework then. Sandra, you're all set to go?
So I need to be able to share my screen. And this is where I may need Brandy's help. Oh, screen share.
You found it, okay?
I found it.
Perfect.
Let's see if I can get the present control, hold to select. No, I don't want multiple windows. Technology is not my first trade.
You got you there. Now looks good.
You can see it? Okay, great. I'm going to get off stop video just so I don't create any other complications.
You want to go full, is it full screen there to get
yeah,
I'm
going to do this.
Got it. Great.
Will it do it for me before I oh, there. So can you see the slideshow presentation? Okay, perfect.
Great.
Okay, so good morning. Happy snow day. I don't know if anybody drove in that snow, but it certainly was a shock being considering that, considering that I hadn't had to do that for the last year and a half. Anyway, the city of Barrie is embarking on a new approach to waste management, one that will support healthy and safe communities for the future. Given that the mandate of this committee includes promoting the protection, maintenance, and awareness of the environment within the community, and to provide advice concerning environmental policy planning and sustainability, I thought that would be important to share this new approach with you. So traditionally, we tried to reduce what was going to landfill by applying the 3 Rs. Most of you will remember the reduce, reuse, and recycle. However, given that this opportunity is used to manage waste within a linear economy, our landfills are still filling up. This reactive approach is trying to manage the waste after it was created. A linear economy is an economy where consumption follows a linear process, otherwise dubbed as the take, make, waste approach. This type of economy takes raw materials from nature to make products that are then disposed of as waste after the functionality or the trend of that product is lost or gone. The concept behind this approach is one where the value is generated by making as many products as we can and selling the products as quickly as possible. The value inherent in the product itself, such as copper and electronics, gets lost in a landfill. Consequently, what was created is an unsustainable system that continues to deplete natural resources, degrades our ecosystem, creates waste and pollution, continues to promote harmful consumer habits, and creates socioeconomic inequities. So in steps the circular economy, which is a more proactive approach where waste is not created to begin with and therefore there's little need to manage it. This approach requires a long-term commitment with sustained motivation. However, in my opinion, it is achievable with baby steps. Under a circular economy model, consumption follows a circular process where waste and pollution are designed out, products and materials are circulated, and nature is regenerated. The concept behind a circular economy is one where the value is not gained through consumerism and lost to disposal, but rather it's retained by extending the use of the existing resources. Under this approach, the amount of waste to be managed would be reduced pre- and post-production through consumer behaviors such as sharing, repairing, and reusing of the final product and its materials. The value is shifted from the heavy use of raw materials with valuable resources becoming uncoverable wastes to where the value is looked upon from the product's end life perspective. Through biological and technical loops, the value is created because the value of the products and associated components are realized and understood. Ultimately, inputs in the form of resources and outputs in the form of waste and emissions are both reduced. There is less need to use land, less need to use water and energy, and less reliance on raw materials. As you can appreciate, however, in order to move the dial forward, behaviors must change. A successful change will occur when every consumer asks themselves, what is going to happen after I'm done using this product? It is only this behavioral change that will make waste reduction and associated emission reductions sustainable. So how is the City of Barrie going to influence the circular economy? The circular economy itself is a large global movement inspired to change behaviors with the intent to drive a more environmentally sound and sustainable economy by reducing the generation of waste in the first place. Because behavioral shifts require relevant and consistent changes over time, in order to achieve success, every municipality needs to create scalable plans and actions that are resilient for the long term. The City of Barrie has taken a 4-pillar approach: reuse, recycle, consume, and recover, all intended to work synergistically towards creating impactful and sustainable outcomes. The intent of this strategic policy framework is to reduce waste generation rates by creating opportunities to eliminate waste and pollution, circulate products and materials, and to regenerate waste. This four-pillared framework will guide the development of a strategy that will minimize waste generation, reduce reliance on raw materials by maximizing the recovery of resources from waste, develop and implement customer-focused waste management programs and services, stimulate innovation, and support economic growth and competitiveness. Awareness, knowledge, and behavioral changes are key to creating a more resilient system. The proposed circular economy policy framework begins with overarching policies centered around education, outreach, participation, and collaboration with community groups, municipalities, and circular economy organizations, all to assist with the continual improvement to long-term waste management planning. So to date, there are various policies, programs, and initiatives already underway, like the textiles collection program, the development of a program to reduce single-use plastics, and the review of the waste master plan with a circular economy lens, just to name a few. Additionally, in order to lead by an example, an internal working group has been struck to develop a roadmap for the corporation to take action. And resources dependent, in 2022, external stakeholders will be engaged to establish an external roadmap. And as with any large change initiative, there are always challenges. The size and scope of the circular economy movement is large and evolving. It's a relatively new concept that requires a paradigm shift, requires upfront costs and resources, and approaches to minimizing waste generation will require commitment to aggressive changes to traditional waste management strategies. And as always, challenges are really opportunities in disguise. Key opportunities here would be to lead in circular economy practices, running pilots, changing procurement policies, strategies like that. Overcoming waste management challenges like declining landfill life, encouraging a greener Barrie by creating opportunities to preserve nature, promoting local economic recovery and innovation, and supporting Council's zero emissions initiative. So since sustainability and resiliency are ingredients to success, a continuous improvement approach is required as more and more policies and initiatives become a reality. We all know that change wreaks havoc with resiliency. Hence, all roadmaps and any associated initiatives must also include an ability to execute, to monitor in order to ensure outcomes and targets are being achieved, and to make changes to better meet the established targets, or really to have the courage to make a change in the approach itself. Just like our lead by example approach, to truly begin influencing the movement to reducing waste requires that decisions and initiatives be made through a circular economy lens. Having provided this information, it is our hope that this committee consider providing their advice concerning environmental policy, planning, and sustainability with a circular economy lens in mind. In closing, I'd like to reference Peter Drucker, who said, "The best way to predict the future is to create it." Thank you. Open for questions.
Great, thank you, Sandra. Yeah, great presentation. So we'll open it up for questions here if anyone wants to. Anne Marie's got something. Go ahead.
Thanks. I've got a bunch, and Sandra, I'm a big fan of this work. So I'm going to come at it first from a resident opportunities to participate in some of these pieces, and let me know if it's kind of out of scope of this, if this is more around city process and infrastructure and procurement pieces. But a couple of things come to mind, and I guess I'll start with, I think about bush systems and a couple of different industrial commercial areas. So bush systems is one I know I think has made progress and had some media around, is it being a blue circle? I'm using the wrong language this morning, but around, part of that system kind of giving back, I believe in an environmental way or in a progressive way to community. I'm also thinking My Local Leaf that I just toured over the weekend, which is a vertical produce, more of a approach that's actually kind of structured the business model of growing produce, vertical farming, reusing industrial buildings that are kind of outdated. So it's not about a net new build, but within that whole model, it's driving water conservation, but does pull on hydro. And so where do we promote or support the circular economy concept with businesses and industry that can become high users, but also may have high waste, depending on their packaging and basically their model of business. So do we have incentives? Are we looking at incentives for businesses or some type of subsidies for businesses that show up in this way and maybe operate or take on a higher cost for operating, but have a greater benefit from a carbon footprint and from a resource conservation?
Great. Yep. Great question. All great ideas. And they are part of a list of actions that have been developed internally. The program itself is just in its development terms. We put it together in 2020, and 2021 is when we're working with internal stakeholders with the opportunity for next year to work with external. It's between the internal and the external roadmap that we're going to start looking at policies. Things like not net new build would be something some policies we would develop under a recovery or a recycle type of policy or pillar policy. The food, the consume, we do need to start looking at that because in by 2023, we've been legislated to meet 70% diversion rate for organics. We're almost there, but certainly those types of initiatives will help us get it there. So all this to say, yes, they're all great ideas and they are on the radar. But we need to first set the stage before we can get things moving. Does that answer your question?
It does. Yeah, it's helpful because I'm looking at these models that are pretty progressive and innovative, and I'm thinking, what's that connection or synergy with some of our strategic alignment? I've got several questions, but I don't want to. I'll keep going unless someone else has got a question, then I'll come back.
I think yeah, keep going, Anne-Marie, and if someone else pops their hand up, that we can pop in. But I think, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, great. So on the recycling systems and the whole engagement and adoption around this, putting on a Simcoe County hat, often I hear from residents, especially when Simcoe County goes through their recycling or green bin conversion and even garbage conversion recently, seeing still a lot of that confusion about, is Barrie a part of that or not? And I didn't know if that's kind of an identified opportunity, or are we seeing residents actually following green bin? Because I think, Simcoe County, I believe, went to maybe even pet waste at one point in time. And so I know there was some confusion where we saw residents in the city of Barrie adding pet waste to green bins. So is there, as we roll this out, is there an ongoing refresher reminder around the difference when sometimes a lot of the Simcoe County change overlaps local media, but really trying to be clear about Barrie residents and targeting Barrie residents for our change options? Because I also see with that, sometimes, all good intentions aside, still the basics of recycling, it's hard to keep track of depending on, what's the code on the packaging and that. So I didn't know if you could share how well we're doing at a resident level. The calendar just came out for City of Barrie, and I love the calendar because often the content there is great reminders around waste, your recycling and garbage days, but also some outreach. And so I want to talk about the calendar next, but I wasn't sure if we're using that asset as well as we could, in addition to more public media and marketing that I could see the benefit from.
Okay, great. Okay, so I'll try and answer. I think there's a few thoughts in there. With respect to improving our programs, absolutely. We are continually looking at the programs. This last year, we've done quite a bit of audit work to determine things like currently 30% of a garbage bag from a single family residential household is made up of organics. So part of our refresh of our organics program next year will be targeting that. There's a lot of change in the industry going on right now. The city will be transitioning to a producer-led blue box program on May 1st, 2024. And so we're at that point, we need to engage or have queued up a new collection contractor because everything changes. So we're working on that right now. And part of that is identifying new products that we would like to go into these programs. So the organics and any recycling that the producers are not going to carry for us. So in the next couple years, we will be working on, what do these programs look like now? What should they look like based on the targets that we should be looking or trying to achieve in the future? If we were to make any changes like the county at this point, it would impact a number of things. One, meaning we'd have to not renegotiate, but create amendments to our current collection contract, which could be increased funding, but requires a little more work. And it's not guaranteed that the collection contractor can find a home for those additional materials. And so that's why we're going to use the next few years to find the best way to fix or improve those programs and then be able to communicate it out before the 2024 date so that we can get the most out of our recycling or diversion programs.
Okay.
Does that help?
That does help. And I guess in somewhat follow up from a landfill and or in our whatever ties into our future blue bin programming. In some municipalities, I've seen that when they have large events, sometimes the waste of those events is contracted out and doesn't go to the municipality the event was held in. It's actually shipped out. And sometimes then the material that they're trying to use aligns to one landfill, but doesn't align to the one it's actually going to. And so how are we looking at knowing that Barrie and tourism and hopefully when we get back to Kempenfest and a lot of those large events, are we also looking at how we put in place when we're permitting events, expectations around the type of, let's say, cutlery or food packaging that's used and making sure it actually aligns so that we're not seeing waste from events we're hosting, actually not being able to be recycled or composted appropriately?
So staff have been working with the culture department on their permitting process. So part of that we'll be looking at, and it'll be synergistic as well with a single-use plastics reduction program. So there has been some preliminary work done on it, but we haven't really, COVID's kind of impacted our ability to get a lot of things done. There has been some movement, but not a lot. Hopefully next year we'll be able to bring that to the forefront.
Awesome. I've got one more. Do you want me to keep going?
Sure. I think sure. And then we'll go, Kelly and Rel after that. Sure. Yeah, let's keep going with it. Thanks, Anne-Marie.
Awesome.
Great question.
If there are ideas that align, how best should we bring them forward? Would it be through you, Sandra? So I think of things like repair cafes I'm seeing in Aurelia that are great around, how do we engage residents instead of throwing something out? I've seen groups do pop up how to mend, like actually instead of throwing out textiles, actually how to just the practice of mending and repairing your own. And then there was some great dialogue, and I'm not sure if Kevin and Andy might speak to this, but in general, when we look at the number of residents that have dogs, how do we look at dog waste differently? And so is there some opportunities to incorporate dog composting in some of our off-the-leash dog parks or some of our green spaces where we're kind of looking at a whole different approach to that type of waste. So where do those ideas, how do they get funneled in, or where would you like to see them? Is it through this committee, or is it through a department when there are things that residents are identifying that are of interest but might come at a cost?
Through this committee would be fine. I see Kevin's hand up. He probably has already done some work on pet waste, because I know we've worked together in the past on that. I'll open that part up to him.
Thanks, Sandra. Thanks for the question, Councillor Kungle. Yeah, we have done some research with a company out of Kitchener, Suterra, who does in-ground pet waste containers. There's 2 locations. We pre-COVID, there's 2 pilots that we were potentially looking at. One was the Barry Molson Center, Dalra. One was somewhere along the major spine through Centennial Park. The purchase, the installation of them, that's the easy part. It was the service contract that we were not running into issues, but we still had some more work to do to understand the mechanics of it, what frequency of pickup, where does it go, how's it transported, regulations around transport, and those type of things. So I'm hoping that we're going to continue to kind of work through those and finally find a pilot project that works for everybody.
Awesome. Thanks, Kevin.
So,
and thanks, Sandra. I'll let someone else jump in, but I appreciate that, Sandra. Yeah, I'm really excited about the work you're pushing forward.
All great questions. Thank you.
Anne Marie, and we have Kelly next.
Thank you, John. Sandra, thank you so much for that presentation. I'm very excited to hear this and have an opportunity for this committee to help support it. Was there a specific target date that you had for the city adoption of this programming? I would assume that you would do that internally as well as doing it externally, as I really feel the city has a great opportunity here to set the example. And I was just wondering how you're working towards that target and what that might look like in a sense of timeline.
Sure. So council has adopted the approach, the 4-pillared approach. So we've been working on a few policies. So there are that approach with a number of policies, of which we've been working on actions, but really the main approach for 2021, given COVID, has been that lead by example. So we currently are working with an internal working group to put together a roadmap of initiatives that as a city we can do internally in order to lead by example. Because if we can't do it internally, right, how can we expect externally the residents to be able to be engaged and to be engaged? So this year, that was our goal. By the end of February, we should have a roadmap that I will be taking to senior management for internal initiatives like circular procurement or improving diversion within city facilities, that kind of thing. Looking forward to the ideas from the group. We have a really good working group, and they've got some really innovative thoughts. In the new year, we'll be looking at updating our sustainable waste management strategy, which is really our waste master plan. And I was hoping to use that opportunity to do an external stakeholder engagement and start talking to the residents about what they want to see, how we update our approach to waste management with that circular economy lens. What is it that they like to see and when? So at the end of next year, I'm hoping we will have the development of an external roadmap so that in 2023, we can start creating synergies to also get ready for that transition in 2024, where recycling itself is becoming taken out of the city's hands and given to producers. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you, Sandra. Just one follow-up. I know Anne Marie had mentioned this as well around reuse and fixing. I just want to also encourage the connections with our partners in the city, specifically for that particular one would be the Barrie Public Library. as they offer so much in that sense of programming and support for fix-it and reuse and rebuild, and also in consideration of our other important partners that we can collaborate with. So I think internally and externally, there's lots of opportunity to get lots of excitement and expertise in this area.
Perfect. So we have engaged with the library. In fact, I think our outreach programmer had a table educating on single-use plastics. I think last month she was at the library. She was so excited because she could be in person. The other thing I didn't mention was, if you look at that 4-pillared approach, it is prioritized. It's first we encourage reuse, then we look at recycle and consume, and the last is the recover pillar. So it's in that priority of which we will be applying policies. Thank you.
Thanks, Kelly. And then Laurel now.
I think my question kind of just got answered, but I guess I was just wondering how the city plans to engage. Like, so there's a few different avenues, right? Like there's some, I'll call them like peer-to-peer programs, which is one that comes to mind is when I first moved to Barrie, there was like I don't know, I can't remember what it was called, but essentially you put your things that you didn't want, like if you had a kitchen table that you didn't need anymore, you put it out at the end of the street, and it was like a yard sale, but free. So I assumed that was put on hold because of COVID, like many of these other initiatives. But I was wondering if you're focusing on like peer-to-peer programs or business policies put in place for businesses and events, or programs at city facilities, or if you're looking more at these other specifically purpose set up circular economy or repair, like the library, the Firebird, the bike repair shop. Like, I guess you're kind of trying to touch on all of those things by what it sounds like, right? You're looking at a lot of different initiatives.
All of the above.
Okay.
However, I find that if you try and eat an elephant in one bite, you get indigestion. So we're taking baby steps, and I'm hoping that through our internal working group and the initiatives that come out of there, we'll have some thoughts that can help drive the external, and also have the two working together. So yes, we have the New to Me program, and unfortunately COVID's kind of stopped it for now. And there's the library. There's been talk about potentially creating online platforms. I've been talking to a company called Repley, and they've got an application that you can put, it's an inventory. You can put your items there if you don't want it. Like, it's electronic. It's like a New to Me, but it's electronic. Mm-hmm. Sandra puts her couch on it, and Laurel goes in because she's looking for a couch, and it looks great. So Sandra and Laurel will speak through whatever avenues they want to speak to in order to get the couch from Sandra to Laurel. Also internally, right? Like I'd like to get that going on internally. If Sandra's got a desk or a bookshelf that she no longer needs in her office, she throws it on this platform, and somebody, I don't know, at City Hall or at the Operations Center who's looking for a desk or the bookshelf can go on and say, hey, Sandra, can I have your bookshelf? And then we make arrangements to move it. So there's all sorts of different opportunities. We also like to look to our friends in Europe because they're way ahead of us on this, and they have some great innovative ideas. So to answer your question, all of the above.
Okay, thanks. And I do think there's a group I'm part of on Facebook, and it's now split up into different areas in Barrie, but it's called Buy Nothing, and they've got the Northeast, Southeast. I think there's 3 different groups, but essentially it is residents. You have to be invited to join, and there's some kind of strict rules about posting things and communicating. But I've been able to get rid of things that I didn't need, and also gotten a few things that I did need on there, like people giving away a bookshelf or whatever. And it's all free. That's part of the rules. But and for people who don't use Facebook, it sounds like you have another good option.
Great. Thanks, Laurel. And Andy. I think you're on mute.
Yeah, this is less of a question and more of a request for maybe Sandra. We can set up a meeting between the two of us at another time to really talk about where we can really work together on some of these things, because I think there's an awful lot of overlap. And you know, Living Green is small and unfunded, but we have a very targeted audience. So especially if you're doing something like a pilot project, it would be great to actually get you that. And then the other thing that we have is a fairly large army of green volunteers who would love to help with things like this. So, you know, for example, when Anne Marie was talking about events, I see something, if you've ever been to Mariposa Festival, you know, so well run. They have an army of volunteers. They literally position a volunteer beside every waste container, and that, you know, helps tell them, oh no, that's compost, that's plastic, this is what you do here. And that's the kind of thing that, you know, ideas that we can work on together. So just a little bit of an offer that maybe you and I could spend a little bit of time together talking about how your local not-for-profit can help with some of these endeavors.
I would love to take you up on that opportunity. One of our challenges at Kempen Fest in the past has been that exact problem. The recycling bins end up being garbage because they're less than 50, well, they're 90% garbage. And we've talked about having even students around to say, no, that's recycling, that kind of thing. The bandwidth, the resources, they just were never there. So that's great. Yep. So would you like me to reach out to yourself?
Sure. Yeah. We can at some point, and let's just set up a little bit of time, and we'll solve all the problems together. All of them.
Perfect. Yeah. Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks, Andy. Anne Marie, go ahead.
So on this, and sorry if this, you know, I'm going to bring it up because I see the opportunity, but I know it directly impacts Living Green. But we've talked before through Living Green's kind of 10 themes across the year, from tread lightly to plant more trees. And Sandra, I wasn't sure, so I'm going to throw it out there, if it's appropriate for this committee to motion something like that or not, but I'm hoping there's an opportunity to engage. And I'm not sure if it's you, Sandra, or probably more communications, but our calendar, I find there's so much opportunity because it's getting to every household. And when we talk a bit about opportunities for the circular economy, but then also things around resident engagement that are happening and free education pieces, you know, is there an opportunity for there to be, you know, explore alignment by month on some things? And how do we embed that into potentially the calendar as a tool from a communication standpoint? And so while we have, you know, maybe certain days around the kind of love it or leave it, right? The kind of the neighborhood treasure hunt when we're upcycling things on the roadside, but are there weeks of those so we can actually get individuals activated? If they miss a day, they haven't missed out on the opportunity. We've got the furniture bank that's doing some great work locally, and residents can actually get a tax receipt for that. So I was wondering about where we can explore more strategically leveraging the city's calendar tool without with things like other resources like Living Green's theming and adoption that kind of go hand in hand with that. I'd also, so one, I'm hoping that's a possibility. Let me know if it needs a formal motion, because I would like to see that facilitated in some way as a conversation. If that can just happen, great. But I would love to see if there's a reporting back, whether that's through council or through this committee. Is there a way we can leverage that tool from a sustainability piece? And is there space, knowing it's a waste focus, where active transportation would ever be considered? So I didn't know about how, when we talk a bit about, you know, June being, you know, treading lightly, you know, what are things that we're doing from a circular economy, but also from a wellness, physical activity, active transportation? So is there room to really rethink that tool? And could this committee be an audience for that conversation?
Absolutely. Really, the decisions on that calendar are comms, the communications department. We work closely with them on the waste pieces. We have started to introduce circular economy concepts in this year's calendar. If you notice, there's a little, we called it our journey, with the intent that we'd like to start rolling out more circular economy things. And a great idea to add the active transportation as well and connecting the two. Emotion is probably best in the fact, unless you want to talk to comms, because like I said, they really have the decision-making authority or role on the calendar. So I can leave it with you how you'd like to do that.
Okay, it's good for me to know, maybe it's not off base through you, and if this committee is interested. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, check your mailboxes if you haven't got it, but the hard copy calendar should be in households this week for 2022. Take a look at that, and I'm wondering, John and Brandy, as you're listening in, if we can put this on our agenda for January to have a conversation maybe about do we as a committee see that as a potential tool and want to engage the communications department around leveraging that in alignment to our mandate.
Yeah, I think that's okay with me. If Brandy can add that to the January agenda.
January 4th. Yeah, I'll make a note.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thanks. Sorry, are you all set there? Henry, did you have anything else, or you're?
I think I'm good for now. I just see Andy raising her hand.
Yeah. Andy, go ahead.
I just wanted to acknowledge that Living Green did get into the calendar in two very meaningful ways, and I just wanted to express appreciation for that. So on the April Earth Day, Earth Week, Earth Month theme, Living Green, a little bit about what we're trying to do is there, and it directs people to our website, which is amazing. And then we also have 2 planting dates that we're going to repeat every year, first Saturday in May, and then the closest Saturday to Halloween. And those are actually on the calendar, which is great. And so that's the first time we've been acknowledged in the calendar. I just wanted to put that in there as a thank you for that.
Awesome.
Anyone else have questions for Sandra?
I've got one last one. Look at me. I'm totally bamboozled. I'm totally taking advantage of you, John, in the being a very courteous chair.
Yes.
Is there anything this committee can support or should be planning ahead? So from our work plan in the following year coming ahead, is there anything we should be re-engaging you on, Sandra, or connecting to? So I know Kevin talked about work being done and maybe there's a pilot. I'm thinking about, before we enter into the next budget cycle for 2023, is there anything strategic we should be revisiting to lend our voice to if there's anything progressive that we could be moving forward to as a city that needs our endorsement?
If it would be appropriate, I can certainly come back to the committee once we've got our initiatives put together for our internal roadmap. And at that time as well, I'll have a better idea on how sustainability is a branch of 3, me and 2 others. And so in January, we're going to put together our list and kind of prioritize based on bandwidth as well as that roadmap. So I can certainly have that full list and come back to you maybe sometime in March, if that works, or certainly anytime you'd like, but I'd probably have a more comprehensive thought on strategic approaches and potential support at that point.
Great, I think that's great. Yeah, so Brandy, can we put that in for March? So then, Sandra, would you come back, or would you just be providing us with the roadmap for us to review? I think we're certainly happy to have you back if that's something.
It's whatever you'd like.
Okay,
I'm happy either way.
So let's plan to have you back then. I think if everyone's okay with that, we'll set that up for March, and we'll check back in. That's great. Yeah, I think that's
great.
Perfect. So, and that'll be the roadmap. It's kind of what you're thinking. It'll be sort of roadmap that we can maybe make some comments on at that point.
Yeah.
Perfect. Great. Okay, great. Is there any other questions for Sandra before we let her go? That was a great presentation. Obviously, great conversation after as well. Thank you very much, Sandra, for all your hard work.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thanks, Sandra.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so the next item we've got is the meeting schedule for 2022. Brandy, do you have the poll results for that? I didn't see that. That came out.
I actually do, and it's basically unanimous to keep it the same way.
Okay, Great.
Okay.
In time, yeah, we'll keep going with that. Perfect. That's easy. And the private tree bylaw update, I think that's Anne Marie. Do you want to take over for that? Bring Kevin there maybe?
And Kevin, are you popping into chat? Let me know. I think we
Well,
left it here.
I'm thank you, Councillor Kungle and John. I've got part of the story, and it's probably the most important part, but Kevin Rankin couldn't join us today, but Parks Planning is assisting in the background to support the process, which is kind of what our expertise is, while Parks and Forestry Operations will be managing the content. So we're working right now to build the communication strategy, the communication plans in consultation with Access Barrie. At this point, we're looking at a public meeting. February 24th is the date that we have a hold on currently. I believe that's a Thursday. It may shift during that week, but it will not shift much. And then typical for any other PIC, there'll be, we'll issue formal memos to council that will be part of the public record, invitation to council members, just as per our standard PIC process with any parks. And then there'll be targeted invitations as well to those that we know that would have an interest. Right now, we're looking at a brief presentation to give kind of a general overview of private tree bylaw, what we have to date in terms of existing policy, bylaws, and some current thinking, some precedent research from some other cities. And then there'll be a Q&A session, obviously, that will follow the presentation. We're planning virtual at this point as well. We're not too sure where the organization is going yet with public meetings and in-person public meetings. So we're planning it as virtual. And then there'll be a survey, a targeted survey as well that Parks and Forestry will be building the content with us for, that I believe we're going to try to get up for 1 week prior to the February 24th date, but for certain it will be posted there for 2 weeks following that date. And then it's Parks and Forestry Operations that will be following up in Q1 with the staff report, which will include all of the information collected from the public information session, theming of the comments, those type of things. That'll all come back to council again in terms of the PIC results. So that's where we are today, but staff are working away at the communications planning and strategy for it.
Okay, great. So then do we want to put something, I guess, on our agenda for around March, maybe, to see if we can, make sure we don't miss the comment period? And at that point, can we add that, Brandy? Perfect. Thank you. Okay. And Anne Marie, is there anything else you wanted on that one? Are you okay?
I actually just wanted to make a note to thank staff, because I'm not sure if most of you are following the budget conversations where the tree bylaw came forward, but really wasn't looking like it would be passed because of the cost associated with some of the work structured that would have engaged some consultants up front. Staff actually did a lot of work and came back with a whole different approach that led with this engagement from a survey and public consultation. So to the Kevins out there, I think we're quite fortunate as a city of Barrie that we've got some pretty amazing champions on this, and it's something I know this committee cared about. And I believe Claire Rietma brought forward originally in concept and then moved through other councillors that had situations happening with mature heritage trees and whatnot being taken down. So I'm excited to see this progress. I'm really glad it found a way forward within this year, and would just like to say thank you, and hoping it can continue to stay on this committee's agenda throughout the next year, because I think it'll be important for us to lend a voice to if bylaw changes and other elements come into play, and it does come with a budget ticket, that there's some education and clear communication that ties to the value of this. And sometimes I would say individuals see it as a tree cut, could just be a tree planted. And I think there is opportunities to really educate about the importance of preservation and different factors that I know Andy and others have been advocates and educators on.
Great. All right. Thanks, Anne Marie. Kevin, you have one more question? Sure. Comment?
Yeah, sorry, I misspoke about the timing of the staff report. So just clarity for the committee. By the time that the survey is completed, which would be in and around this timing of March break, to compile that, then to work on the staff report, and we have our own internal processes, which takes about 4 to 6 weeks to go through the various approvals. It's probably looking more like early to mid Q2, which I think is still consistent with the original council motion. So the staff report wouldn't be coming in Q1, it'd be coming in Q2.
Okay,
Thank
great.
you.
Great. Thanks, Kevin. Okay, so on to the next item, which is successful use of yield signs in Painswick Bayshore Park. I'm not sure who put that on there. Is it Anne Marie? No?
No, wasn't me.
Brandy, do you know who put that one on there? I'm not sure where that one came from.
I don't have it on my list, no, however, oh, you know what? I wonder if it was Eric Jacoby Hawkins and he's not here.
Okay, so can we just maybe, sure, yeah,
So
let's
we
defer
can
that one.
defer that.
Great.
Absolutely.
Okay. So move on to Anne Marie for Crompton Park update.
Yeah, thank you. So we can also defer. I'll bring back some more information later, but again, I think most committee members knew we did the planting thanks to a Living Green partnership. So 85 native trees were added, still getting a lot of resident positive feedback on that. So thanks to Andy and Kelly and all those, both as Living Green volunteers and local residents that came out. We will kind of reconnect with that committee. I think, John, it was yourself and our lovely Al McNair and Kevin Bradley. So we'll continue on, and I'll provide that small group a little bit of the feedback that I'm getting through residents as it's coming in.
All right, great. So that's just deferred to next meeting then, is it the best? Okay.
I would even say we can defer to February.
Okay, great.
And I'll continue with some resident engagement pieces, and then I'll give you kind of the scope in February, and that should tie up that beautification project.
Perfect. Okay, thanks. Next thing we got has City of Pickering city building conversation. You know who that one was? Is that someone? Oh, it's Kelly? Great. Perfect.
Well, I think if you recall, John, because it was your lovely email too, that feeding back, that was the presentation that Brent Todderan did for the city of Pickering. Right. Do you remember that?
Yeah, right.
And how, and I'm sure Hannah's smiling. Do you know, did you guys see that presentation, Hannah, that Brent did for the city of Pickering? I'm not sure if
I've heard a little bit about it. Yeah. I've heard some points that he made. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it was a good presentation.
It really was, yeah. So I shared that, and it was a live presentation on feedback, and I thought it was interesting, first of all, that the city of Pickering was doing a speaker series, you know, and I thought, you know, how forward thinking that was to bring in outside folks to talk about, you know, what they're doing in their cities, whether it's, you know, consultants, or the last person they had was a woman from the city of Edmonton, a planner from the city of Edmonton as well. And she also did a presentation. But I thought, as John, you know, I know you pointed out too, John, about how significant that presentation was that Brent did, that kind of parallels with the city of Barrie, and a lot of his ideas and applications would apply for the city of Barrie, and how we thought we might want to share those types of things on the active transportation sites, you know, for education and awareness, part of that thing. So I think that's where that came from, John.
Right, great. Yeah, thanks, Kelly. That's perfect. Yeah, so I thought it was a great presentation, and yeah, a lot of it wasn't even that. I mean, it was focused on a municipality like similar to Pickering or our you know, city of Barrie. So I think it would be great. Yeah, great link that we could put through on the website. I guess as part of that as well, I was thinking that yeah, if we can, we've got a lot of stuff on our website talking about stuff that we're doing, but if we could have a section in there talking about what great initiatives that other municipalities are doing. So we're not just kind of limited to what we're doing, so people can see, oh, wow, there's lots of stuff going on, you know, pushing the envelope in other places that are very similar to Barrie, that, you know, it's not impossible to see. So yeah, I guess how would we make that move? Sorry, Hannah, you have your hand up?
I just wanted to chime in. I really like the point where he made about, I think he called it high suburbs, and basically building all these high-rise towers and thinking, oh, that's good, it's, you know, density. But because they keep expanding roads, it's really car dependent high-rise still. There's still that car dependency, which I think in Barrie we're struggling with. Even if we're going to be redeveloping and adding high rises, we're still going to be struggling, I think, with all these like wide roads and not enough options for pleasant, attractive streets that I think City of Barrie should work on. Just a thought.
Yeah, great points. Yeah, for sure. That's something that takes a little bit of a shift of perspective to move that way. But yeah, I think it's a great point. You know, with all the people that are coming to Barrie, there's no way we can move them all with single occupancy vehicle for sure. So we've got to get people in and have the routes set up. And I think that's, you know, a big part of what we're hopefully putting forward here is getting that network set up that people can be ready to move when we get all that density in here. So yeah, lots of great stuff from that presentation that we can kind of build on in Barrie. So do we want to see if we can send for the website, if we can get, I guess, a list of other, just at least to start with, to say other initiatives that other municipalities are looking at, maybe a handful of ones. So then we can, I guess Brett was kind of the one who was leading that with the website. So if we can do that, so if everyone can maybe send that through to Brandy, does that work best? We can send it to Brandy, some ideas of kind of forward-thinking initiatives that other municipalities are doing that we think we want to highlight. And if we can get that, and then everyone can agree on a list of, you know, 5 or 6 that we kind of highlight as interesting things that other places are doing, and we can pass it on to Brett to maybe add. Does that work?
Yeah, anything that you send to me, I can forward on as I've done in the past. So yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. So then sorry, go ahead, Anne-Marie.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know if there was a step in there where, while we're sending it to Brandy individually, if that would then be circulated, all the links to the whole committee, maybe a week in advance of our next meeting.
Great.
And then we can take a look and maybe identify if there's anything there that just as a kind of that cross check about no conflict with our mandate or perspective, but then an awareness of what's going to Brett and alignment.
For sure. Yes. Let's do it. So we'll keep this on for the next meeting, and we'll try to get it in maybe a week before, at least so everyone kind of look at it. Before. Do you want to do it? Well, let's leave it on. Let's take a shot at it for January, and then if it doesn't work, we can always bump it. Let's try it for January.
Yeah. So get resources to Brandy before January.
Yeah. Okay with that. Good. Great. Perfect. And then we're on to, sorry, was there anything else on that item? Anyone?
I had a side piece that kind of ties in rather than maybe new business.
Sure.
Around just examples of what's happening in other locations. I've got a colleague, if this is of interest to the group. She's an associate professor of UOIT. Her name is Shilpa Dogra. She is actually doing a lot of research around active transportation infrastructure and has been giving some presentations around that. I think she's speaking to the Durham Age Friendly Committee this month. Her presentation title is "The Future of Transportation is Integrated, Age-Friendly, Barrier-Free, and Electrified Active Transportation." So I was going to see if you would be interested. I can look to arrange to connect Shilpa with Brandy and have her come to a meeting in the new year to give that presentation.
Perfect. Yeah. That great. Thanks, Anne-Marie.
You're welcome.
Perfect. Okay. Great. So, yeah. Go ahead.
Sorry.
Right.
It doesn't tie to a linkage, but maybe this is a future conversation, so I'll plant it here. This morning, a resident who is an active transportation champion identified, and I think it might be on social media, where a municipality was actually training their truck operators to have a more awareness of what it's like to be a cyclist actually on a bike lane without any type of physical barriers. And so what they were doing was they were putting the truck drivers on a static bike and actually had the vehicle drive by. And there were some interesting learnings there and an appreciation. So I'm getting questions about, hey, who kind of hires and trains operators? And would this be something as an exercise as part of one's orientation about when you're operating a large truck on the road, actually understanding what it's like to be the cyclist that you're passing. So I thought that was actually interesting. It doesn't kind of link to a resource. It's more of a concept. So I'm not sure where that goes or if anyone has seen that or thought of it, but maybe a future conversation around, maybe it's a city conversation, but I didn't know if that was something people had heard of or seen around how we actually look at operators.
Interesting. Yeah. Great. So maybe is that something that we get someone from operations, like Jeff Sharp or someone from operations to come in, and from transit, maybe like you're thinking city transit and operations drivers?
Maybe I'll reach out to them and just say, how is there a place where there is an appreciation for operators as we move to active transportation around orientation and training? What does a safety conversation look like? And maybe see if there's anything there. Maybe it's worth them bringing it back. I'm not sure.
Okay. I see Kevin popped up here.
Yep.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, John. Yeah, Councillor Cumby, you may wish Don Nelson, who's to do all of the vehicle and operator training, I believe through the reorg was transitioned to human resources. So you may wish to reach out to the director of HR just in your communication and reach out. Because I believe all the training functions have moved over to human resources.
Thank you. I wasn't aware. Okay, I'll start there and then maybe I'll bring it back by email to the group if that's something to explore. But it was an interesting concept around, where does this fit?
Perfect. Yeah, great. Kelly's got maybe a question. I think you're on mute, Kelly.
There we go. That's a great question and statement or point, Anne-Marie, because as we move forward with our endeavor to support winter active transportation and winter cycling, which is, it's definitely doable in our country and in this location as part of our education piece when we're talking about educating folks on winter cycling, but also educating drivers and maintenance workers on being aware, right? When we start to get more people on the road, we need to have that other end of the awareness. So that really ties in with beginning to talk about supporting of winter cycling as well. So that's super.
Great, thanks, Kelly. And then Hannah.
So I like the idea of educating truck driver operators and bus operators. I bike myself a lot, and these on-road infrastructure bike lanes sometimes can be terrifying. And to be honest, for that reason, I try to avoid them because I don't want to put the responsibility on my life to a truck driver. Because what if they're distracted? What if they're tired? I don't want that responsibility in their hand. So I personally just use the sidewalk to avoid all that conflict, just because it's not worth for my own stress. And I think the best way, in my opinion, to approach this sort of situation is just to have that physical separation. And to tie that into the point that Kelly made about winter maintenance, I think it's extra hard to maintain the on-road bike lane in the winter because all that snow gets accumulated on that bike lane. So I've seen many times that actually separate cycle tracks are better maintained than on-road bike lane.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great points there. Yeah, so I think so hopefully City of Barrie seems to be moving towards that separated infrastructure. That's certainly the way the industry is moving, and the OTM manuals are pushing that way. So that's great. Yeah, I think that's an important shift for everyone. Okay, so do we want to bring this back again, or I guess Anne-Marie, you're going to circle back? Do you want to just let us know if it's something that? Okay.
Yeah, I'll circle back offline and I'll ask Brittany to put it on the agenda if there's anything relevant that comes up, and the timing of it. But while we're talking about that, I know it's not on the agenda, but did that so maybe even for new members, that small group that we've got going on for the Bike the Night. I know we meet next Tuesday. Kelly, John, myself. Who am I missing? Is there a fourth? Sherry, I think we've got on the invite.
Yeah, Stephen, who's the partner with, very excited to have him on board. He's with Tourism Barrie. He's the new sport tourism support person. So we're excited to have him on the committee. You skip me on that. You go ahead, Anne-Marie, because I was gonna hijack that too. I've got some new faces on this committee that I think might be interested. So you go ahead.
No, run with it. Yeah, I was just saying if we could pause one, we do have that meeting coming up. So next agenda, maybe Brandy, we could put a placeholder on the January agenda for that group to maybe give a quick report back. But perhaps if I can collectively speak for that committee, Kelly and John, Hannah and Laurel, if that's something of interest to you, reach out to one of us. I think it's 9:30 to 11. We're meeting Tuesday at the Common Good. No, at Marty's. And so if you can make it, that's where we will be. Reach out to one of us. But again, if you haven't seen it, it would have been recorded in our last meeting with the Guelph group that presented on their Bike the Night initiative. And so our conversations are really leading from that presentation. And maybe Brandy, if Laurel or Hannah are not sure how to navigate the City of Barrie YouTube that are where our meetings are recorded, if you could send them the last meeting link, that would be great.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Yeah. So then I guess, yeah, we're kind of hoping to set something up for in the new year. Sorry, yeah, new year, spring or summer of the new year, maybe fall. Anyway, I guess we'll discuss it at that meeting. Yeah, that's really exciting.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. And sorry, do you have anything else on that, Kelly? You're good. Nope, we're good. Okay, great. Okay, moving along here. So Bradford Roadway cross section. I'm not sure without if we maybe have to put that one off.
It was me.
Is it Hannah? Okay, perfect. Go ahead, Hannah.
Yeah, it was me. Is Brett on the call?
He's not.
He's not yet.
Okay. So yeah.
No, unfortunately, he's unable to attend, but he did send me a quick little paragraph to say.
Okay, sounds good. It's fine. We can still discuss it. I just had a few thoughts about it. I just had a question for him about the PIC, if there's going to be an option of not widening Bradford Street, so keeping the 18 meters right away, but expanding the sidewalks, not adding cycle tracks at the expense of traffic lanes, so one traffic lane in each direction. That's what I wanted to ask him.
Well, he had basically asked me to share that they're favoring the unidirectional cycle track solution due to the corridor context with the one-way cycle track adjacent to the sidewalk. So I don't know if that answers your question, or if this is something that you wanted to defer to the next meeting where he should be in attendance, because he just had another appointment today.
Okay, sounds good. We can defer that question to the next meeting, but I just wanted to bring, I guess, up this topic for discussion to the committee members for now. I just wanted to bring up my concern about protecting the 34-meter right-of-way to 2050s, and that will significantly impact development now. When we protect the right-of-way, developers have to leave giant setbacks and cannot build on the protected land, which will be used to add more traffic lanes. This protection means less developable land right now in a housing crisis to protect the future road expansion in the 2050s. So I know that this project is not happening really soon. It's for the 2050s, but will have severe consequences going forward from today. Actually, in the summer, I made a deputation to City Council describing the financial, social, environmental impacts of expanding the right-of-way to add more traffic lanes and asking to include the option of not widening Bradford Street, keeping the same right-of-way, but adding cycle tracks, expanding the sidewalks by removing a lane or two of traffic. So that option would have the existing 18-meter right-of-way with cycle tracks and wider sidewalks. Essentially, instead of creating a wide highway-like road, which I called Move Through Bradford, we should assess the option of creating a more inviting, safer street where people would want to live, work, and socialize, which I called Destination Bradford. Actually, I believe direction from council was given to assess this option, but that's why I wanted to ask Brett if what's the update on that, but we can defer that to the next meeting maybe. I think currently it's 18 meters the right of way, so the expansion roughly doubles the size of the corridor leading to a highway into our future downtown. And also widening roads has been proven to not improve traffic congestion. I think that's a very important point. We're going to encourage more drivers to take this corridor, which will turn into another Young, another Maple, another ESSA, etc. Something that is not very compatible with a walkable, attractive, prosperous urban growth center and downtown. I do not think a wider Bradford would have it would be an improvement at all from current conditions. And I just wanted to bring up this topic for discussion, and then also wanted to ask how we should, who should decide the vision of this corridor, and how do we democratically decide this vision, and what sort of, I think Bradford has lots of potential to be a nice street, given it's part of a urban growth center and future downtown.
Great. Thank you, Hannah. That's great comments and good topic for sure. Anne-Marie, you had some thoughts on this?
Yeah, it was a very impressive presentation, and I'm wondering if it would. Hannah, do you remember the date of that presentation by offhand?
Yeah, actually, I think it was June 15th. I don't give too many presentations, so I remember this.
No, it's good. And I see a lot, but you were very memorable, and I think it would be of the benefit to this committee to perhaps view that presentation for the context, and maybe send that link, bring this back to January, because I would even say, from who makes that decision? Well, we don't decide, but we can table a motion to have city building actually endorse it up to city council. So from that structure, I would just say perhaps that's a motion that then would move to city building by the end of January, if we table this in our meeting in the beginning of January. As you're saying, I don't think it's too urgent, but it would be good to loop back on and hear from staff, and then frame that motion and see how that moves forward.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah.
So I'm not sure, Brandy, are you able to pull the June 15th, or in general, everyone on the committee? It was the planning committee, was it not, Hannah?
I think Hannah, you're on mute.
I believe it was the city building committee.
City building. Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
so
it was pretty easy to find. I just found it. So
yeah, perfect. Usually it's just the meeting date. So yeah, people can find the June 15th City Building Committee link on YouTube. That might be a nice action to the group, and then maybe we're all coming from an appreciation of kind of, Hannah, how you were packaging that feedback on that road, because there are some great graphics in there as well.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Sorry, okay, go ahead. Yep, Kelly.
I just wanted to say thanks, Hannah. I did watch that presentation. It was incredible, and I don't see why we can't do this. And I'm kind of like of the mind, let's do this. Let's just pilot this particular approach and see how it works. And I think it'll be beautiful. So if we get to keep pushing and keep getting other folks on board for this, I think this is a brilliant, amazing opportunity to establish this Bradford corridor, and absolutely love it.
Thank you. Yeah, Bradford has so much potential. The beach is right there. The GO station is right there. The downtown. This is our future downtown. And we, looping back to that presentation in Pickering by Brett Todren, he was saying that solving traffic congestions by adding more lanes is the same as solving obesity by loosening the belt. So I really like that quote. Yeah.
Great. Okay, so we'll plan to put this back on the agenda. Brett will be on the hot seat for this one, and we'll see what he can do and how we can move this forward. Yeah, either as a pilot project, or I guess maybe again trying to rethink the way we're growing with our streets and roads for sure. So if we put that on for the next meeting, and we'll, if Brandy can, well, I guess we already know we can see that presentation. I think that's great.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you, Hannah. Is there anything else on that one for anyone? Okay, we're good. So that's the end of the items we had listed here. Does anyone have any new business to bring up? Nothing else yet? Good.
No, let's just focus on Bradford.
The Bradford stuff, great. On the way, that's good. So, and actually, I do have one thing for the that school active travel stuff. I did meet with one. Oh, sorry, Wilf just popped up. Do you have something, Wilf? Nope, good. Okay, so yeah, for the school active travel, I did meet with one school so far. So we've got that started. We've got, I'm sorry, for the new members, we're trying to go around to some schools, just get, there's a lot of great resources that the city of Toronto, that provincially, CAA, there's a lot of great resources for teachers to do some encouragement with active school travel, to encourage kids to be walking to school. And we're trying to push that from an encouragement perspective. So right now I'm going to parent council groups to see if we can get them on board with some sort of a competition, either within the school or within multiple schools, where we can provide some I don't know, some sort of encouragement, some sort of awards that that will get the students in the schools excited about it and start pushing it. So we started at one. I've got another couple ones lined up, but if anyone else has any schools that they know of, we're kind of starting with elementary schools now. If you've got schools, parent council that you know of that's interested in having me come to talk to their parent council to try to see if they're interested in joining the group, let me know. You can reach out to me with an email, and I'll just kind of keep you guys up to date on how it's going. But the first school went pretty well, and we're hoping that'll kind of snowball from there and get other people encouraged. Yeah. Anne-Marie?
Is there anything you have that's handy, John, where we can give that appropriate context, and then link you to contacts, just so I'm not misrepresenting what's being offered or the next steps? And
So I've got an email that I've kind of sent out to other people that I have a few teachers that are friends that they've kind of sent it out to places that they know of. So I'll send that. I can send that email around. So then it's not a formal presentation by any means. It's sort of just to go into a conversation with the parent council group to say, why is it important to have active school travel, all the benefits of it. Here's some resources that you can have, and here's how, here's the things that we think we can encourage the kids with, to do either a school thing or by the classroom, whatever it is. We just need someone to sort of champion it at each school, and hopefully we can kind of pick up some momentum with that.
great, thanks.
Yeah.
I'll move that around.
Okay, Kelly, you had a question?
Yeah, John, I know you're doing this on your own and it's awesome. I'm wondering if we can think about tying this back to our other committee on education that we're starting, which one of the pieces is Bike the Night. But I thought this would also be an appropriate piece, so you've got other people involved in it. Just a suggestion. So you're not kind of, on your own on that one. So we could attach it to I don't know our official name of our subcommittee, but it's education and awareness. We're working on that name, but I thought that would be an appropriate place as well, John, for us to also help and share.
Great. Yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah, I'm certainly happy to have other people work into it or do the informal meetings. It's not that I have this great presentation set up with a lot of great things. It's just more just getting in front of them and making that suggestion to them. So most people, even with the stuff recently with school crossing guards, I think it's certainly in the news right now, and I think people are interested in it. So yeah, great. Thanks, Kelly. Maria?
I was just going to offer to assist as well. Certainly with the school piece, I can maybe help. I have a bit of a marketing comms background, so I can maybe help with a presentation if we are looking to kind of do any standardized stuff for that. And Kelly, I'm happy. I'm not available next Tuesday, but I'm happy to help out with that community engagement side as well. So please feel free to add my email to the subcommittee list. Thanks.
Perfect. Great. Yeah, my presentation is very lacking, so I'm happy to get any help I can. So Andy?
Just have you looked at Peterborough Green Up and what they're doing with active transportation? Because that would be, they actually have, as part of their Green Communities Canada program, they have a whole coordinator and everyone who's set up just to deal with schools and getting kids to bike and walk to school. And you're going to get a lot more resources there. You may as well use, no sense in reinventing the wheel. They've kind of got it all down. For that one, again, I'm a broken record. What we need is financial resources to bring that kind of programming here is the missing piece on it. But really, they've already kind of got this figured out in a really wonderful way. So I'd point you there if you haven't already seen it.
Great. I'll take a look. Thank you. Okay. Anything else on that, or is any other new business that anyone else like to bring up? Ahead of time here. Okay. Well, I think that's great. We'll end it there then. Good to see everyone. And yeah,
Sharing, John.
thank you. Yeah, I made it through. Hey, yeah. We appreciate Keenan more next meeting. So, all right. Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thanks, everyone. I gotta go deliver a whole pile of Christmas
Thank
trees.
you.
Perfect.
Great meeting, everybody. Bye.